Mertech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on July the 11th in the year of our Lord 2025. Got a lot of great information for you today. Let's go ahead and move over here to Mertech on Rumble. This is the video that you're watching, episode 1620. All right, let's just slide down here and open the description box. We have information from Dr. Steve Turley, Glenn Beck, Benny Johnson, and Megyn Kelly. But before we get into that, I do want to give a shout out here to Two Cat Scratch, I guess. Just started following my channel. Kevin, the mayor, just started following my channel. So thank you very much, guys, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in, and I hope you enjoy the content. All right, Patio Furniture 63 gave me a comment on my episode 1618. Susan 080 and Debbie BS gave me a comment on my episode 1619. Debbie BS also gave me a comment on my extra 403A, and she also gave me a comment on my extra 403B and 403C. And Debbie BS also gave me a comment on my extra 404B. So thank you very much, Debbie BS. I greatly appreciate that. And Patio Furniture 63 and Susan 080. I appreciate your comments and your support. Thank you again. Okay, let's get into this. I want to start off here with some information from Dr. Steve Turley. Corruption exposed, CDC covered up internal study. Imagine that. Well, let's see what this is all about.
In 1999, they brought in a team of scientists under a Belgian researcher named Thomas Verstraeten, and they looked at the data. They looked at children who had received the hepatitis vaccine within the first 30 days of life, and they found an 1,135% elevated risk of autism among the vaccinated children. It shocked them. They kept the study secret, and then they manipulated it through 5 different iterations to try to bury the link.
Well, now that was just a small clip from what's an absolute bombshell interview between RFK and Tucker. I made a couple of videos on it already, but what I want to do right now is highlight some of the aspects of this interview that really do affect our lives and, if true, should really change the way we think about our health, the government infrastructure, and what's happened over the last 5 years, which is being called really the COVID fallout. Now, I want to outline what are some simple steps to understand this utter chaos. Now, in the full interview with Tucker, RFK says that there was a 1,135% increase in autism risk from the hepatitis B vaccination. So when the researcher found that out, what did he do? Well, like any corrupt bureaucrat, they covered it up. RFK says that they got rid of all the older children essentially and basically replaced them with younger children who were too young to be diagnosed with autism. And then they continued to administer the vaccines for decades. And in the very same interview, RFK brought up Dr. Tony Fauci's blanket immunity from anything he could have done over a 10-year period. And he asked the obvious question, why would someone of his position need immunity?
He seems to be thriving. He doesn't have Secret Service protection any longer. No, President Trump took that away from him. But good. He got immunity. Why did he need immunity? Why did he need a pardon in advance?
What do you think the answer is?
I would be speculating, but I think he was vulnerable. I think he had a lot of liability on creating coronavirus. He was funding precisely that research at the Wuhan lab.
Now, as you heard in that clip there, RFK Jr. just outright claimed that Anthony Fauci was essentially responsible for the entire pandemic. And here's the kicker. This isn't some fringe conspiracy anymore. That's a statement coming straight from the Secretary of Health and Human Services. This is is the position of the White House, the Trump administration right now. Now, don't forget, RFK Jr. now has access to all the classified intel. He knows exactly what's been hidden. So when he points the finger at Fauci as the architect behind the pandemic, you can bet he's got the receipts and he's not bluffing. So as this absolute chaos continues to unravel, the question now is, what other public health emergencies are we going to see? And by the time RFK and his team uncovered these scandals, it may very well be too late for any of us to correct some of the chronic health problems that we've been, and I don't say this lightly, basically poisoned with over the last 100 years or so of globalist interventionism. Well, joining me today to discuss potentially the next great scandal that RFK and his team are sure to uncover next is Dr. Kelly Victory. Dr. Victory is a medical expert in emergency medicine and trauma. She's been the chief medical officer for dozens of Fortune 500 companies such as Sprint Wireless and Nissan Automotive, and is currently on the medical board of our good friends over at the Wellness Company. So Dr. Kelly, welcome back. Great to see you again.
Thanks very much for having me, Steve.
Well, it's an honor to have you. I want to talk to you about what does seem to be a very concerning sort of new emergency coming out of the woodwork over the last few years. We've been hearing a lot about it, and it's turbo cancers. So tell us what you're hearing about this bizarre uptick.
Well, unfortunately, Steve, this was a predictable outcome of the devastation of the mRNA COVID injections. This was predicted before the shots were ever rolled out, and tragically, it is coming to fruition. In addition to the myriad other injuries that have been sustained from those shots, meaning things like myocarditis and autoimmune issues, neurologic complications, blood clots, fertility issues, the outcome has been this issue of, quote, turbo cancers. There are multiple mechanisms by which the mRNA injections, unfortunately, have led to this precipitous increase in cancers. The first and foremost, the common denominator is the immune system, the negative effect that these shots have had on people's immune systems. The immune system is the first line of defense always against cancer. People think about your immune system as protecting you from bacteria and viruses and fungus and the environment, and that's true, but it's also the immune system that is the first line of defense that is supposed to recognize abnormal cells and to wipe them out before they ever become a cancer. We all have abnormal cells in us all the time, but your immune system, a healthy immune system, should recognize that, say, hey, that's not a normal looking breast cell or a normal looking colon cell, and it just wipes it out like it would any other pathogen or foe. When the immune system, however, has been suppressed, when it's not functioning normally, it either turns a blind eye to those abnormal cells, and we can talk about why it does that, or it doesn't have the capacity to wipe out those cells, and therefore they take hold, develop a tumor, and move forward. What we have seen, and the data are irrefutable, we have seen types of cancers in groups of people in whom they have never been seen prior to 2020. And that includes things like aggressive and advanced colon cancers in people in their teens and early 20s, advanced lung cancers in 30-year-old non-smokers, types of breast cancers in groups they had never been seen before, or people who had cancer deemed in remission for sometimes well more than a decade that all of a sudden has returned with a vengeance and become wildly metastatic. So unfortunately, there are multiple pathways by which this is happening, but the data are irrefutable, and I fear we are only seeing at this point the tip of the iceberg.
Wow. Yeah, it's just amazing how things have changed just in the last few years. You think of all the suppression, all the censorship we were dealing with. Now RFK is actually the head of the HHS. It's absolutely unbelievable. Finally, people were able to be much more outspoken. Doctors, moms, regular people just sharing life stories. And it seems people are really being awakened to medical corruption today.
Yes.
Just in a way we just didn't realize. I just think we were so naive prior to 2020? And politically, we were so naive to like the deep state and so forth prior to 2016. And then prior to 2020, we just seem to be so naive, the extent to which big business really seems to have taken over the medical industry. I came across a stat that found something like 65% of oncologists, their income is actually dependent on prescribing chemotherapy. Is that, am I right on that?
Yeah, so let me back up for a second and say that, one of the things, the positive things perhaps that came out of the debacle that was the COVID pandemic was that people's eyes were opened. They realized for the first time, many of them, the extent to which the government, big pharma, big food, big business will go in order to make a profit, the amount of lying and corruption. And regardless of what you think about Robert Kennedy Jr., he is not, quote, anti-vaccine.
Right.
He's exposing fraud and corruption.
Right.
That doesn't make him anti-vax any more than Elon Musk, exposing fraud and corruption in the government makes him anti-government. I mean, that's silly. He's exposing things that people have not been aware of.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. I mean, this is great information. She's going to go into some more and talk about the wellness clinic, but I'm going to talk about that myself here in just a moment. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Dr. Steve Turley. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's get back here to the description box. And if you will look in the description box, I have a link to the wellness company right here. Okay, it's a straight link that goes to the wellness company. This is it right here, talking about supplements and all kinds of great information here. Own your wellness, own your health. All right, and then you can save 10% on your orders. But I have a link that goes straight to there. It's not like a link wellness company / Murtech. It's to give me credit. I don't have any promotion codes or anything like that. I have no connection with them other than they're a good company to do business with. All right, let's move on here. We're going to talk about some information here from Glenn Beck. This AI could change everything by next year. But before we get into that, I want to share my concept of the future of AI.
All this whole place, everything, it's gone. Just gone. We're survivors. Here, there. Nobody even knew who started it. It was the machines, Sarah.
I don't understand.
Defense network computers. New, powerful, hooked into everything, trusted to run it all. They say it got smart. A new order of intelligence. Then it saw all people as a threat, not just the ones on the other side. Decided our fate in a microsecond. Extermination.
Okay, that was a snippet from The Terminator. Okay, if you haven't seen that movie, it talks about how the computers actually took over the weapon systems and then determined our fate in a microsecond and launched nuclear war around the world. I don't know. That was a movie, but Glenn Beck is going to talk here a little bit about AI. So let's take a listen.
And I think it is the biggest story possibly of all mankind as of today. It's going to change rapidly. I don't know if anybody did. Either of you guys watch the Elon Musk thing last night?
No. I did watch a few minutes of it.
Okay. Did you, Jason?
No, sure didn't.
Okay. So the XAI team was there to unveil Grok 4. This is the latest artificial intelligence system. And let me be very, very clear. Last night was not your typical tech launch. This is a moment that demands everyone's full attention. We are now at the crossroads where promise and peril are going to collide, okay? I have explained to you for years AI, AGI, and ASI. Narrow intelligence is what we've always had. General intelligence is the next step, and that is it's better than man. One, like Grok, can do everything that you can do, better than you can do, okay? And then there's super intelligence, ASI, artificial super intelligence. That's when things get really, really creepy. When you hit AGI, the road to ASI could be overnight, okay? We need to understand what's at stake here because Grok 4 brought us closer to that second stage than ever before. Grok 4 is a powerhouse. They demonstrated it last night. It surpasses the expertise of PhD level scholars in all fields. It can get 100% on any test for any field, mathematics, physics, engineering, you name it. This is not a search engine. This is a system that tackles problems so intricate they go beyond our existing knowledge base, okay? Let's say we have a fusion reactor and the magnetic containment system goes down. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point, but it goes down. And the top minds all on Earth are like, I don't know what to do. Grok 4 can step in, model the physics, design new material, stabilize the system, and avert catastrophe. And it can do it about that fast. Now, this is the capability that Musk says is just around the corner. Mark my words. You know, how many years did I say between 2027 and 2030 we would start to see this?
Oh, a million times. That was always your
years,
window,
right?
That I remember, yeah.
Yeah, always the window. And everybody, even Ray Kurzweil said, oh, that's way too optimistic. Maybe 2050. And then people started going 2040, and then 2030. Grok shows us 2026 or 2027 is when we're going to hit it. This is the last year that we have before things get really weird, okay? Last night, Elon Musk is touting this AI and all of the solutions, and then he says probably 3 times something like this, and I'm quoting, this is one of them. It's somewhat unnerving to have created intelligence that's greater than our own. He then goes on to call it terrifying twice. Now, this is a man who's launched rockets, into orbit, going to Mars, and he says twice, after he sees the results of it, he says, it's really, in a way, quite terrifying to see what it's doing. But we just have to make sure that it remains good. Oh, okay. All right. Sure. Now, the key point in the announcement was the mention of ARC AGI. I had never heard of ARC AGI. I had no idea what it was, but I noticed AGI and I'm like, that sounds important. So this is the gold standard, the benchmark testing for artificial general intelligence. Okay. As I've said before, AGI, artificial general intelligence, is a machine that matches all human cognition across all domains, reasoning, creativity, problem solving, not just specialized tasks like playing Go or analyzing X-rays, everything. For instance, Musk said by mid next year to the latest end of next year, it will be able to create a full-length movie just from a text prompt. and do it all at once. So in other words, it'll say create a movie, and you just explain The Godfather. It will do the casting. It will do the writing. It will do the filming, if you will. It will score the music, and it will happen that fast, almost in real time. We are nowhere near the computational power now to do that separately, but this will do it all at once. It will make a movie with all of it simultaneously. So the ARC AGI system is the benchmark on how close are we to AGI. Remember, scary things happen at AGI. Terrifying things happen at ASI. ASI could be a matter of hours or days after we hit AGI. Grok 4 scored 16.2% on the ARC AGI scale. Why is that important? You're like, oh, well, they're only 16% away. Because last time it barely broke 8%. And they took that test last time with Grok 3. And it took us forever to get to 8%. Now, what is it, a year later? We're at 16%. Remember, these things are not linear. The next time we could be at 32, we might be at 64. We are on the verge. This is the last year of, I can't believe I'm saying this, of normalcy. Okay, this year we're going to look back at this year and probably 2 years ago. Gosh, you remember the good old days when everything was normal and you could understand everything? This is how close we are. Everything you and I talked about last night, Stu, about what we're doing in January, does it make it even more critical that happens like, I don't know, right now?
Yeah, for sure.
You are going to need to know your values, your ethics, your rights. You're going to need to know absolutely everything. Now, Grok 4 is not true AGI yet. It lacks the full autonomy and the generalized reasoning of a human mind, but it is the closest that we have come. It's a system that can adapt, innovate at a level that outpaces specialized AIs by a wide margin. This is a milestone. This is not a destination, but it's something that should jolt everybody awake. So here's what's coming in the next 6 months. By December 2025, that's this Christmas, December 2025, he believes, Musk, that Grok 4 will drive through breakthroughs in material sciences. So in other words, imagine a brand new alloy that is lighter than aluminum, stronger than steel, and it revolutionizes aerospace and everything else. Or a drug that halts Alzheimer's progression tailored to a patient's DNA. Grok will drive breakthroughs through material science, so brand new materials that nobody's ever thought of, pharmaceuticals that we never thought could be made, and chemical engineering, putting together chemicals that no man has ever thought. That's going to happen by December. Imagine a chemical compound that makes carbon capture economically viable. The climate change stuff, that's over. It will be over because this will solve that. These are not fantasies. This is Grok 4. Musk said something I never thought. He said he believes within the next year, by 2027, Grok 4 will uncover new physical laws. So that will rewrite the our understanding of the entire universe. That there will come new, like there's gravity. Hey, you know what? There's another law here that you never thought of. Wait, what? That, he says, will come by 2027. This is going to accelerate human discovery at an unprecedented scale. I told you at some point, I said by 2030, well, it might be a little earlier than that. Things are going to be happening at such a fast rate, you're not going to be able to keep up with them. And it will accelerate to the point to where you won't even understand what all of this means or what the ramifications are. Are you there yet? In 6 months, Grok 4 could evolve into a system that dwarfs human expertise in economics, defense, all of it. Now, again, it's a bit terrifying, to quote Elon Musk. Why? Because we don't know what else comes with this. This is like an alien life form. We have no idea what to predict, what it will be capable of, how it will view us when we are ants to its intellect. Okay? It is a tool, but it is also Pandora's box. Grok 4 is the biggest step towards AGI and maybe one of the last steps to AGI. My feeling is what I've been saying forever, 2027 to 2030. I am leaning more to the 2027 now because of this announcement last night. We are on the verge of AGI and everything in human existence changing overnight. And as Musk said himself 2 times, it's terrifying. We should act like it is terrifying or risk losing the control of the future that we're all trying to build. That's the biggest story of the day, I think, in my opinion.
Okay. Unbelievable. You know, that would be the thing to do, is that you have something that you don't understand its capabilities or how it can grow or the things that it might do to harm you. That would be the thing to do, is to keep pushing it. Yeah. Well, we don't understand, how vast this is going to be and how it's going to react to the humans that are trying to control it or maybe even try to turn it off. We don't know that. But you know what? We're going to keep pushing it. Yeah. We're not going to wait until we do understand it or understand a way to make sure that we can flip the switch if we need to. No, let's not worry about that. What could go wrong with that? Okay, this does come from Glenn Beck. I am subscribed to his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's get back here and move on. Right on down here to Benny Johnson. Fox News hosts demand answers after Epstein cover-up nightmare. No one believes you. All right, well, let's see what that's all about.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. We were able to fly on Trump's plane with Trump and eat McDonald's with him. It was an awesome experience. We put it all together in a documentary. It was great. It was a couple of years ago. Anyway, I'd love to redo that on Air Force One, and we're working on that. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what President Trump sat down, ate his fries, and watched Fox News with us. He has massive screen in front of him. Donald Trump loves cable news. He watches it all the time. He's often posting about things that happen on cable news, on Truth Social, like they'll happen, and then he'll post about it. And it's a powerful mechanism for President Trump to absorb information. And the reason why I say that is that something really big has happened, something quite earth-shattering, in fact, has happened inside of this Epstein crisis that is currently engulfing the Trump administration. No, I'm not talking about Elon Musk unfollowing Pam Bondi, although that is a black spot, certainly, on in certain circles, right? I'm talking about this. A president who is very locked in when it comes to cable news, watching on cable news the fallout from this decision to just kind of whitewash the entire Epstein issue away and never talk about it again. It's not going over very well, especially with people who've done an enormous amount of reporting on it. And now Fox is, well, engaging in a lot of criticism of the administration for doing it and handling it this way. They're using some of our videos in order to level that criticism. And you know what? Let's talk about it. Trump administration blasted by another A-list conservative for claiming there's nothing in the Epstein files. This time it's Jesse Waters, who took over Tucker Carlson's time slot. Jesse Waters leveled this criticism of the Trump administration on Fox News' most watched show. That would be a show called The Five.
And spied on his campaign and tried to take down his presidency. And then they got caught red-handed. And we'll find out if there was a conspiracy or whether they lied to Congress. And I hope they pay the price, but they might not, because a lot of these guys skate all the time. So I'm not going to get my hopes up. You saw what happened with Epstein. You know, you get your hopes up and then all of a sudden, poof, everything disappears. So the Justice Department and the FBI have a lot riding on these prosecutions. I'd like to see justice. But it's like you get guys out there that say that there's this pipe bomb at the DNC, and then like whatever happened to that? Mm-hmm. What about the Vegas shooter? Remember how suspicious that whole thing was? Poof, that disappears. You know, all these things always come across and then they just disappear, and it's very frustrating for the American people. Epstein. Yeah, I mean, I said Epstein. It's like, where did this guy go? Where did that whole case go? Where did all the files go? They just went nowhere? No one even believes that. So you got to go after these guys, and you have to go after them hard, because the American people aren't going to tolerate the corruption. You got someone like Nancy Pelosi. Her stock portfolio went up $40 million last year. And that's more than any hedge fund in the United States. And her husband's not even a professional investor. He owns a vineyard. And then Joe Biden's taken millions from the Chinese all into the table. He got nothing to show for it. And at the end of the day, he pardons his whole family and walks out the door, and then his stupid doctor pleads the fifth under oath. No one is going to get punished for any of this stuff. It just seems like Trump's people always go to jail, and these Democrats and these deep state darlings always skate.
Well, you have a point there, Jesse.
I've read so many good points.
But politics is dirty.
Politics is dirty. Shut up. Shut up. We all watched the DOJ's capacity to arrest every single grandmother who even dared to look at the United States Capitol during January 6th. And those grannies, some of them died in prison. Some of them got cancer and died in prison. And so all we're asking is for them to at least investigate some of the billionaires, prime ministers, members of the royal family, members of our own political elite, perhaps former presidents, who were on Epstein's list, flight logs, camera footage, obviously. And the DOJ says that's too hard. That's why former Fox News superstar Glenn Beck is calling for Pam Bondi to resign. Former Fox News superstar Megyn Kelly saying her days are numbered. Former Fox News superstar Tucker Carlson saying that this is such an abomination to talk about how many children were abused by Epstein, and then say, but he's innocent, and no one will ever be charged for it. It's insane. Here's Tucker's take.
So they're not stupid.
But how can you say that thousands of children were raped, but I'm not going to find out who raped them?
Yeah.
How can you say that?
I agree completely.
They said that. By the way, when Pam Bondi went on television and said, I have a videotape of kids getting abused, I followed this case closely, and I know a lot of the people involved, as I've told you.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. I didn't know that. Really? Thousands of children got raped?
Yeah.
Who raped them? Where are the rapists? Like, why aren't they in jail? What? This is the Department of Justice.
Yes.
That is so crazy. This is honestly one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just think it's very dangerous to play around with this stuff. Like, very dangerous.
Well,
I don't want a revolution, but if you wanted a revolution, this is how you would act.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not just Tucker. There's a considerable portion of the internet that is absolutely crashing out over this. Obviously, the response has been a pressure cooker because we saw the way that they treat us. If you wear a red MAGA hat, you're going to prison for the rest of your life. If you even jaywalk or chew gum the wrong way. If you are an elite predator cult, then nothing happens to you. And you actually get absolution. It's not just like an ongoing investigation. You get cleared of everything. It's bad, bad, bad. Laura Ingraham, who also has a very popular show, brought on one of our favorite guests, which is Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch, who's currently suing for these documents. He's suing the feds. The feds had to admit today, humiliatingly, that, yeah, they have to like give him the documents. Well, I thought there were no documents. I thought there was no other evidence. The whole thing's insane. It's being criminally mismanaged, and it's doing a lot of damage. So I want it to be over with. And I'd like for there to be some type of absolution for those who have been covering the story for a very long time. I mean, ultimately, we, the American people, are well aware that there's a lot more here telling us, it's cool, bro. We looked into it. Move along. It's not going to work. So here's Tom Fitton and Molly Hemingway going scorched earth mode on Laura Ingram's show on Fox as well. Something that we know Trump watches because he appears on it. Our clip, by the way, being featured. Proud of that. Here we go.
Today, in a joint status report, the FBI says it's still running searches on the Epstein records, including all communications from Director Kash Patel regarding a possible client list. So are there reasonable conclusions to be drawn here? And is this a messaging problem? Did they overpromise before they knew what the documents would show? Here to weigh in is Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch president, and Molly Hemingway, the Federalist editor-in-chief and Fox News contributor. Tom, here's what Kash Patel said about that Epstein client list shortly after he was nominated as FBI director. Watch.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list. What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Tom, he sounded pretty definitive there. So what changed?
I think they decided for political purposes they didn't want to include the individuals who were on these lists and put them in the public domain. And they were concerned that some of them may not have done something warranting the disclosure. I mean, that's the most charitable interpretation. But there is a list. There's no doubt. I mean, they talk about in the memo they wrote, well, there's no incriminating client list. Well, what does that mean? I want the non-incriminating client list. And of course, a client list is a term of art, right? Where are his associates? Where is the list of contacts? And we asked under our FOIA lawsuit, Pam Bondi, give us the documents that you say you were looking at. Give us documents about the release of these documents. You said the FBI was obstructing the release. They came back to us and said, we have nothing.
Molly.
Well, this is a proxy for what we've seen with so many big stories throughout the years where the American people just want to know what's going on with
whatever
assassination attempts, whether it's the one in Butler on Trump or the one that was successful against JFK, the Russia collusion hoax, the situation with Epstein. Everyone understands that there might not be a,
smoking gun.
Right.
Or, yeah.
But no one feels very satisfied with the level of investigation that was taking place or the transparency. And it seems that the FBI and other government agencies care more about managing the narrative than actually just revealing the information that needs to be revealed.
And then we have interviews with former mobsters who actually was in the same jail as Epstein and had kind of a shocking claim. Watch.
Jeffrey Epstein would have to be a magician to try to hang himself in that cell. I was in that cell. There's no way there's nothing on the ceiling. The bedpost is this high. I couldn't even go to a restroom without them walking back and forth and having me on camera. There's no way he committed suicide.
Tom.
And Pam Bondi yesterday said that video they released isn't conclusive.
But it's a reset. That minute is a regular reset of the system.
And they're still looking for that minute. And to release video that doesn't show what happened in the cell isn't terribly persuasive. I'm not sure what they were expecting there. The fact is there are two competing forensic investigations, one by Epstein's family, which suggests it was a homicide, and one by the examiner up in New York. He says it was a suicide. So given those issues, to say because the video doesn't show one way or the other whether someone went in there, to conclude, oh, well, there's nothing to investigate, seems odd. And they also said, we're not going to give you any more documents. Mm-hmm. And kind of with this, well, when there are too many conspiracy theories out there. And I don't like to be dissed like that.
In the end, it's not hard. Just don't protect the predators. It's not hard. Treat the predators as the enemy, not us. It's weird. It's like attacking the fans. Hollywood does this all the time, right? When they have a bomb of a movie that they're not proud of, they attack the fans. So, why are you attacking the fans here? We're the good guys. We're the ones who want to stop the predators and put them in jail. We're not the bad guys. They're the bad guys. There needs to be like a full table reset here, ladies and gentlemen. And with Fox going hard in, man, it's going to be a rough road. Right? Yeah. Okay. Weirdly enough, CNN also going hard. Is that crazy? CNN, Jake Tapper this week saying, no, there's piles of evidence in the Trump administration, like DOJ's lying. Yikes. Facts. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe for more truth.
All right, let me go ahead and pause that there. And folks, we just talked about AI. I mean, AI at this point, where it is, I've heard you can make movies, you can make commercials. It's going to replace actors, but there's a lot in that tape, the recording, that Pam Bondi, and it has that minute and some odd seconds there at 11:59 or 11:58, and then it skips to like midnight. But there's a lot of time at which, whatever, okay, whatever. But my point is, there's a lot of footage of just a blank room, just showing down onto through the rails, a blank room, empty room. Now, with AI, you could have a three-ring circus walk through there. Cut that out, paste in the empty room during the three-ring circus walking through that area. I mean, you don't even have to measure. You could just clip it out, that one area where somebody walked in, somebody walked out, several people walked in, several people walked out. You can just cut that out and paste in that empty room just sitting there with AI. With it, I can do it. Okay? I mean, I make recordings, upload recordings, and at the beginning of the recording, there's stuff that I cut out. At the end of the recording, there's stuff that I cut out. Okay, and I can insert stuff in the middle. So, I mean, I can do it. I'm not really a professional. But at any rate, let me go ahead and click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Benny Johnson. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's get back here to our lineup. And next we have some information from Megyn Kelly. And I wonder what they're talking about. Did Pam Bondi lie about the Epstein files and embarrass Trump and MAGA with Liz Wheeler? So there we go. Let's go on to this and see what they have to say.
So you go back to that day outside after we'd run into the press, we're taken down to our phones, and we begin to break this story. We post that picture that I posted holding the Epstein files. My intention was within 30 seconds, because that's how you game the X algorithm. You do a post, then you do the second post on the thread. Everyone knows this. My intention was to say,
I did
but
not
this
know
is
that
the
until
real
this moment.
story.
You just taught me something. I did not know that. Keep going.
It works like a dream. Unless, of course, you're in this situation. Then it gives the White House 30 seconds to tell you that actually there's an embargo on the story because they don't want President Trump to be asked during his press conference with the UK Prime Minister only about the Epstein files. So suddenly, Megyn, I find myself in this position where I'm like, oh no, because I also am, chronically on X, and I see that those media photos that were taken of us out back weren't just posted to a random website somewhere. They were starting to catch fire online. And it starts to look like the train wreck unfolding before my eyes that it was. People, and I understand why they felt this way, they start to think, oh, these influencers are being gatekeepers. They're engaging in clickbait, all of these things, which you make a decision at the beginning of your career when you're in this business. Are you going to be bombastic? Are you going to be hyperbolic? Are you going to engage in clickbait? Are you going to be ethical? And anybody who, I've been in this business a long time now, 10 years, more than 10 years. Anybody who's ever listened to me, watched me, or read my work knows that I made the choice not to do that. I'm very transparent with my audience. I'm very honest. I don't engage in hot takes, even if it might get you more clicks, because it's not the right thing to do. So I'm, of course, personally infuriated at this point because this makes it look like I'm doing what I don't do. So I am frantically behind the scenes in the Uber in Washington, D.C., screaming at the White House via text message, please let me post this. Do you understand what's going on? Not just from my personal perspective, but the way that it's making the administration look. Bureaucracy takes forever. It was at least an hour before we got permission to post the real story, and the damage by that time had already been done. So again, I held my tongue about this for a while because I thought, okay, maybe this unforced error was a
Let me just say this.
lapse in judgment.
For me as an outsider, and I'm only sort of an outsider, right? Because I'm a member of the press and I know the administration well. But my experience of it was not, for whatever it's worth, that you guys were engaging in clickbait. I saw you guys as a bunch of innocent victims of the whole thing. I was like, of course, I know all of you, at least by your tweets and so on. And I think this is a very loyal group to the president. This is a group that's been important to the president's election. This is a group that helped provide context, throughout the entire campaign when the mainstream was lying. This is part of the group that would try to set the record straight, provide additional facts and context. So there's no way this White House would willingly want to embarrass this group. So they've invited them to the White House, clearly. They've given them these binders that read, Epstein file. They've allowed them to be photographed holding the binders. And those photos hit the internet. And then within, a very short time after the photos hit the internet I don't even remember how it came out, but it was like, there's nothing new in there. There's nothing new. There's nothing new. And then the narrative kind of caught hold like, well, they've been embarrassed. Why they've been embarrassed because now here they are holding up the binders and there's nothing new. And all I could think was, this is something you would do to people you don't like. This is something you would do to people whose credibility you wanted to undermine. But I never felt like you guys were guilty of doing clickbait. I felt like somebody in the administration has totally dropped the ball here. Why would they tell you guys there was something new or noteworthy or celebratory or in any way to show in these binders with the label on them if there weren't? Why would they do? And to this moment, I still don't understand it. Even hearing you, I'm like, why would Pam Bondi, if she said to you even at the time, there's nothing great in here, but I'm waiting on additional documents I just found out about, and I'll give you those. Why would she go through the exercise of the binders, which anybody would know had the potential to embarrass you? Why would you ever want to hold something up, as exciting if it was all old news? That's like a sin of journalism. Every journalist knows you don't want to tout something as big that's literally old news. And to this moment, I don't understand, Liz, whether it's because Pam Bondi was negligent in making sure, what's exactly in this binder, and does she know there's actually nothing new? You're about to humiliate people who care about you, or because she had some other motive. I don't know.
Well, first of all, thank you for giving the benefit of the doubt to us that day. Not everyone in our movement gave the benefit of the doubt that way, and did accuse us of clickbait, which, like I said, you can look at my work. That's not the case. Yes, the question that you pose is a question that, believe me, I've asked myself a million times, and I've done my due diligence trying to investigate. The phrase that I used, I went live from the airport like 30 minutes after this meeting because I had to fly back home to my kids, and I wanted people to understand exactly what had happened. The only part of the story that I didn't tell that day was the part about Pam Bondi bragging about making that cover sheet. And maybe I should have told that right then and there, because maybe that would have made it obvious that Pam Bondi should have been fired on the spot for what she did. The only explanation that I can think of, and this is an explanation that is based on a pattern of Pam Bondi's behavior, is that she wasn't telling the truth. Not necessarily because she's corrupt and trying to hide the contents of the Epstein files, but because she's click thirsty, because she was more interested in making these big promises on Fox News, being a Fox News star and a mega champion. And she got out over her skis, promising things that she hadn't verified. And that's the root of this week. I said, listen, if I'm President Trump, I am looking at what Attorney General Pam Bondi has done to the base. He has lost his administration, even though he had nothing to do with this. His administration has lost a tremendous amount of goodwill with voters because people care viscerally about the Epstein files. They care deeply about this, partially because these are grisly crimes that were committed against children, but also because this represents justice. We have been harmed so many times by the deep state, whether it's parents being told we're terrorists because we didn't want trans ideology and critical race theory being indoctrinated into our children, whether it's being censored on social media or arrested outside of the Capitol because we had questions about the 2020 election, whether it's pushing back against COVID vaccine mandates, we have been vilified and demonized and targeted and subject to violence. And we voted for President Trump because he promised justice. Justice does not mean memory holding all of these bad things, this harm that was inflicted on us. It means finding the people who committed the crimes, charging them with those crimes, holding them accountable in a court of law, and sending them to prison for what they've done. And people feel stung because when they see what Pam Bondi said in that Department of Justice memo on Sunday, she is telling us, ignore the evidence, the anomalies, the suspicious, fishy things surrounding Epstein's operation and his person and his connections and his death, and instead believe me. Without evidence. She's telling us to ignore what's before our very eyes and believe her instead with no evidence. And Megyn, there is not a politician in this world that you should extend that amount of blind faith towards. So,
well, she's put us in a position of having to decide which of her statements we're going to credit. I mean, which one should we put the faith in? Because, we kind of put the faith in the statement from February 21st. And then the statement she followed up with on February 26th. And then the statement she followed up with on March 3rd. And then the statement she followed up with on May 7th, all of which kept spinning this tale of, I've got the goods. I'm getting even more goods. You're going to see the goods. This man's a filthy animal. And you're not even going to believe what I've seen. That she just seeded that trail ever since she took office. And then instead of coming out on camera Sunday night or Monday, when she purportedly realized there was absolutely no there other than the child pornography found on his computer, not involving third parties, like other than, Jeffrey Epstein's predilection of, disgusting random porn, and saying, I got it wrong. I overpromised and I'm under-delivering and I'm sorry. She leaked to Axios a 2-page unsigned memo with absolutely no explanation, none whatsoever, and literally thinks that's enough. And then unfortunately, we had the cabinet meeting where Trump seemed fine with all of that, where he kind of stepped in, was like, why are we still talking about this thing that I talked about repeatedly on the campaign trail and did tell you was an issue that we needed to get to the bottom of and that I would, and then elevated 2 guys who talked about it all the time on their shows, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, to run the FBI, the very organization that was at the heart of the investigation. And another person, Pam Bondi, who once I put in the office has been talking about it every other week and now looks at us and says, why would you still be interested in this? Do you even want to answer that question? And Pam Bondi thinks she's putting it under the rug by being like, oh, there's a missing minute of the tape, but that's just because they always change over at 1 minute before midnight and we lose a minute of tape, which everybody was like, what? And also, when I said client list is on my desk, I really just meant file. Bye. It's just been totally insufficient, Liz, totally insufficient. Yeah. And no sane human being would at this point be saying, oh, okay, I have no more questions. It's all answered for me.
Exactly. And listen, President Trump is smart. He's strategic. He probably has a finger on the pulse of his base better than any politician that I've ever experienced in my lifetime. I do think he's misreading his base on this one. There's a story actually that country singer John Rich tells about having dinner with Trump. And during this dinner, Trump turns to him and says, why do people boo at my rallies when I talk about the COVID vaccine? And then President Trump sat there and he listened to John Rich's answer. And John Rich said, because, Mr. President, people have been hurt by the jab. And President Trump listened to what John Rich said. And I think that this is one of those moments that President Trump should listen to his base, because people have been hurt by the deep state. And that's what people are associating the Epstein files and the indications that there may have been a government cover up, or at least a lack of transparency and a lack of honesty when communicating all of this to us. That's what people associate this with. They associate it with the fact that they want justice for COVID. They want justice for Russiagate. They want justice for the phony Ukraine impeachment. They want justice for the lawfare against President Trump. They want justice for the assassination attempts. They want justice for the rigging of election processes. They want justice for Black Lives Matter riots. They want justice.
Since President Trump was...
All right. I cannot disagree with either one of these ladies. I think they are speaking words of wisdom. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from Megyn Kelly. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. She always does great work. All right, let's get back here. And I do have a special here, a bonus actually, from Wendy Bell, but I'm running out of time here. Right here is the link. In fact, this is actually an extra. My ID, I gave four extras today instead of 3, so you can watch this. It's exactly what I dropped as an extra today. First, I'll show you that. But first, let me tell you that these videos that I shared with you come directly from the producers that created them. I don't get any commissions or royalties for sharing this information out, but I do like to put these little packages together and share them with you. Let me check out here yes, Liz, and yeah, WBS, then investigate and then expose the ones who are guilty. Wow, what a freaking concept! Maybe you should be Attorney General, WBS. Wow. Imagine that. Or, I mean, you would think. I've heard numbers of like 1,000 children were raped. Okay, you can't pick 1 or 2 out of those 1,000 that are maybe really scumbag dirtbags and prosecute them. I don't expect 1,000 people to be prosecuted, but nobody? Whatever. Okay, I'll copy this and make a comment out of it because, as I've mentioned numerous times before, and that when the live stream ends, the live chat just kind of goes away. So, folks, if you want to make a comment, you come down here to this little comment box and put in whatever information that you want, okay? And then you see this little green button here, right there. If you click that, now watch, this is pretty neat too because the whole box turns green. Watch. Whoa, there it is. There it is. Now it's permanent. Okay, let me do a quick refresh here. All right, and pause that. And okay, I've had 152 people look at this video so far today. I've got 37 people watching right now, and I've got 5 thumbs up. Okay, so if I could get 32 of you to, just scroll down and click that thumbs up button, just kind of like when I click the comment button. It's really neat. I mean, it gives you a warm feeling down deep inside. Okay, I'm going to back this up here. And as I said, this information from Wendy Bell, right here it is. Okay, if you go to Murtech.com, or sorry, Murtech on Rumble, and the link to that is in the description box also. Right here is the bonus, or you can click the link. I mean, it's going to take you to this video. Wendy Bell, this is like the intro to her program. And as usual, she gets, excited, let's say. All right. As you can see here, she by the thumbnail that I got, she's giving somebody a hard time here, and they so richly deserve it. Okay, it's amazing the information that she puts out. Okay, coming over here, back here to Murtech.com. These videos that I shared with you are videos that I've pulled directly from the videos that I've posted here on Murtech.com, the videos that I post here on Murtech.com, and again, the link to Murtech.com is in the description box below. I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. This is the video here where I pulled that snippet for Wendy Bell. Right up here, Megyn Kelly. That's the video I shared with you from Megyn Kelly. All these videos, Dr. Steve Turley, the video shared with him. So all this information is here at Murtech.com. But unfortunately, I don't have time to share all 55 videos. But I do have a daily news wrap-up of all the information that I could pick up today, good information that I put in my playlist, no nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth, that type of stuff. And I'll get that started about 9:30, my daily news wrap up. So with that being said, as of right now, I do want to thank you for spending your time with me. I really appreciate that. Please share this information out with your friends, contacts, and family members. Give me a thumbs up. If you're not following my channel, please do so, because I produce this kind of information every single night, even if I'm on vacation, even if it's a holiday. Okay? I like to keep you people informed. So again, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.